If you have been around St. Anthony's for very long and you've heard me speak of the Trinity, I may be speaking theologically. But then again, I may be speaking of Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Kris Kristofferson. Those three are known as the Highwaymen, and their rendition of On the Road Again is one of those all-time great country hits. Parenthetically, I would say that a number of years ago, I had an opportunity to spend a Saturday afternoon with Willie Nelson, a private gathering on a farm in northern Tennessee. Just a delightful soul, as long as you have beer. That song, On the Road Again, has become Willie's theme song. He opens all performances with it. It goes, on the road again, going places that I've never been, seeing things that I've never seen, and I can't wait to get on the road again. That could easily be a description of Mark's gospel. It begins with Jesus searching out John the Baptizer on the banks of the Jordan River, and then calling his first disciples, 4 fishermen, asking them to leave their boats and join him on the road. And much of Mark's gospel takes place on that road from the northern part of Israel down to Jerusalem, a distance of about 65 miles. It's interesting that Jesus' whole ministry, his entire ministry, is done within a 100-mile radius of home. Most of the time, the road that he goes down is that one thoroughfare from the north to Jerusalem. And it crosses Lake Gennesaret. Gennesaret is fed by the Jordan River. It's a very shallow lake, and it's surrounded by mountains. So when the wind shifts and comes out of the north and blows down through the valley, the lake becomes very turbulent. Sometimes waves 15 feet high. At the far end of the lake, there is a restaurant that's been there for many years. On my last visit, I talked with the owner, who told me that in a 20-year span, the restaurant had been renovated and repaired 9 separate times, all due to water damage. So in our gospel for this morning, Jesus and his disciples, who have been teaching and feeding people on a plateau overlooking the valley and overlooking the lake, decide to cross to the other side. It's been a long, hard day. They get in their boat. Jesus immediately curls up and goes to sleep. And they cast off for the opposite shore. The wind begins to increase. The waters become more turbulent. In fact, they become waves. Now keep in mind that at least half of these men are professional fishermen. For them to panic, as they obviously do, gives you some indication of the ferocity of the storm. They wake Jesus. They wake him, yelling in his ear, "Do you not care that we are perishing? Do you not care?" Jesus rises up from his slumber, faces into the wind, and says, "Peace, be still." And the wind begins to abate, and the waters begin to calm. Peace, be still. It's almost the identical thing that he said to the man possessed of a demon in the synagogue in one of our earlier gospel lessons 2 or 3 weeks ago. Peace, be still. Haven't you said something like that to a child? Maybe a little harsher. Shut up and be quiet. Peace, be still. Does the disciples look at one another, having witnessed this firsthand, and what they say to each other is, who is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Who is this? So the journey continues. In our gospel readings for the next few weeks, Jesus and the disciples will be on the road again. On the road headed ultimately to Jerusalem. On the road ultimately to a confrontation. On the road to a crucifixion. Beloved, that assurance that Jesus says to his disciples is a very simple one. I do care, and you are not alone. I do care. That assurance is what baptism is all about. Your baptism, my baptism, that's what it's about. It's not about the depth of one's faith. It's not about which doctrines you believe. It is not about witnessing. It is the assurance that you are not alone. That happens in our baptism. Those wonderful words that the priest says to the one being baptized, adult or infant. You are marked as Christ's own forever. You belong. That's who you are, part of who you are. But you belong to me, says the Lord. So if you don't hear anything else, hear that in whatever storm you are experiencing. I'm told that one of the most popular websites is Ancestry.com. I've even thought about looking at it. Ancestry.com. We all want to know who we are. Where did we come from? How are we the way we are? Is that inherited? What is our story? Everybody has to have a story. A story of who you are and a story of whose you are. In our baptism, we are given a place, an indoctrination and acceptance into a larger story. That's really what baptism is about. We are marked as Christ's own forever. And we are bathed in those blessed waters. We take a place in that larger story. It's our story. For the next few weeks, at least the next month or so, we will read and hear the story of David. It's one of my favorites. Read 1 Samuel. It's not only entertaining, but it is very theological. The youngest of 9 boys who becomes a king. Don't we all want to be a king? He achieves great fame through his courage and devotion to God, but he also suffers public humiliation and God's wrath. His affair becomes public knowledge. The child of that affair he will lose. David's story is our story, and sometimes and in some ways. It's also a story of forgiveness. A story of forgiveness. It's part of our storybook. We need to learn from it. So on this journey that you and I are on, this journey we call life, we have to have a story. And hopefully it's a story about having faith. And that story tells us not only who we are, but who we belong to. Who we belong to. Every journey needs a companion or companionship. Every one of us here is a fellow traveler because we're all on that road we call life. In a very real way, we are brothers and sisters on a journey together. We sit next to each other on Sunday morning and we dine together on that little fragment of bread and that sip of wine, eating together as brothers and sisters. Sometimes on our journey we are scared, and our cry is, do you not care? Do you not care? And hopefully someone of our brothers and sisters will say to us, I care, or we care. In Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is reputed to be built over that tomb in which Jesus was placed after the crucifixion. It's thousands of years old. It has been remodeled and restructured any number of times. It seems like it's always being repaired or redone. The latest has just been completed. And part of what was addressed in that reconstruction, in that repair work, was the uncovering of a chamber far beneath at the foundation of the structure. A chamber that was unknown before, empty, except there's a drawing on a wall. It's a drawing of a boat pulled up on a shore. And the boat is empty. The travelers arrived safely. Amen.